Hi, everyone. I hope I saw some of you at the district annual meetings, but if I didn't, this is the presentation that OSF brought to the district annual meetings. And I'm going to go through it today so that everybody gets a chance to hear the news from the Ontario sheep farmers this year. So here are your 2024-2025 Board of Directors. A big thank you to the volunteer directors who represented their districts this year. In the back row, from left to right, Jenna White, District 11, Grant Cowan, District 6, Keith Todd, District 3, Devin Wensink, District 10, Wesley Godden, District 9, and Raphael Lara, District 4. In the front row, from left to right, Ryan Schill from District 5, Ken Lamb from District 7 and the first vice chair, Art Alblas, District 1 and the chair, Karen Davis, District 8 and second vice chair, and Jay Lennox from District 2. In 2021, Ontario sheep farmers launched a new 5-year plan called Building Strength for a Better Future at their annual meeting. The new strategic plan was created with grassroots input across the entire sheep value chain and set a roadmap for the organization based on the needs and opportunities identified through the consultative process. 5 key deliverables were identified in the strategic plan that was designed to build greater public trust, more dynamic market relationships, more effective business support, a more robust system to identify leadership and support districts, and a more effective organization to support each member. The strategic plan is reviewed at each board meeting during the executive director's report. The executive director's report is structured around the deliverables in the plan, and staff have performance measures tied to this plan. Under the community heading in the strategic plan, there are initiatives that address the goal of building public policy and public trust relationships. In January 2025, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, Rob Flack, announced a $100 million increase to the risk management program. This was OSF's top advocacy goal for many, many years, and it was very rewarding to achieve this announcement. Thank you to the province for recognizing the importance of agriculture to the economic well-being of Ontario. The money will be added to the program over 3 consecutive program years, starting with $30 million in the 2025 crop year, and then an additional $30 million in 2026 and $40 million in 2027. Congratulations and acknowledgement for their hard work goes to our partners in the Ontario Agriculture Sustainability Coalition for this milestone. That includes Grain Farmers of Ontario, Beef Farmers of Ontario, Ontario Fruit and Vegetable Growers, Ontario Pork, and Veal Farmers of Ontario. As you know, we work with many partners throughout the year on many different priorities for the Ontario sheep industry. This year, I'd like to highlight 3 of our top priority areas. Over the last couple of years, there have been resolutions calling for changes to the provincial wildlife damage compensation program that covers flock losses from predation. OSF has a committee that provides guidance to the board on this program, and the committee set 2 goals: to achieve a higher valuation for commercial breeding stock than cull price, and to improve the reporting timelines for the program, possibly through an online reporting system. OSF is working with Beef Farmers of Ontario and Ontario Federation of Agriculture to advocate for these improvements to the program. A survey was sent to sheep producers asking for their commercial breeding stock sales values, and thank you to everyone who participated. The survey had 150 respondents, and we were able to utilize that data from 50 of the surveys that provided commercial breeding stock values to make a recommendation to OMAFA for values in July. A recommendation for an online reporting mechanism for the program was also made to OMAFA in July by the committee. There is a commitment from the ministry to review our survey results. OSF is in support of the work the Canadian Sheep Federation is doing with federal livestock colleagues and national veterinary and livestock health organizations to improve access to veterinary tools. There's a white paper that's been presented to the federal government with recommendations to recognize equivalency with our free trade partners and improve timelines for approvals of pharmaceuticals available to sheep farmers in other countries. Additionally, OSF has been advocating for provincial programs to improve the number of food animal veterinarians in the province and improve access to veterinarians for sheep farmers in more remote regions of the province. Last year at this time, we were working on interprovincial trade pilot projects. Now there's been an announcement by the federal government to open interprovincial trade, but there are no details about how this will be done. The position of Ontario sheep farmers is that equivalency of provincial food safety standards must be considered before opening provincial trade of highly regulated products like lamb. We are still in support of the proposed pilot projects allowing Ontario lamb processed across the border in Quebec to return to the Ontario market and allowing identified large provincially inspected processors to access Canadian markets outside of Ontario. OSF will submit this position to the federal government within the consultation period on interprovincial trade. Under the supply chain optimization goal, OSF is focused on building market relationships with a focus on supply chain optimization. Last year, OSF ran a barbecue promotion pilot. The goal of the pilot was to test the efficacy of social media promotion. We promoted 2 delicious Ontario lamb recipes through social media to 2 small geographic regions around 2 Longo's stores on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We developed beautiful videos and shots for the campaign. The campaign last year achieved 1.5 million views at a cost of $2.17 per 1,000 views on the Meta platforms, but a much higher cost per view on YouTube. We also received sales information from Longo's stores that suggested the campaign increased sales as the 2 pilot locations compared to 2 control stores. As a result, this year, OSF is running the same campaign, focused on 2 new Longo stores and only spending money on the Meta platforms to increase the number of views for the same investment. We know that from preliminary results that the campaign achieved 2.7 million views at a cost of $2.18 per 1,000 views. So same cost per 1,000, but we reached a lot more people this year. There will be more information about the ads and the results of the campaign at the AGM. OSF is also partnering with Farm and Food Care to participate in Breakfast on the Farm this year and their virtual farm tours. A virtual tour was filmed at Peter and Ellie Vanderveen's farm, and OSF has a VR headset for our booth, and people love to see the farm through the headset. OSF will continue to be at the Royal Winter Fair, and this year we will be working with our fiber shed colleagues to promote products made with wool. The board completed their international market research project in 2025, and there were a number of recommendations made to the marketing committee in the final report from the project. The marketing committee has been meeting throughout the year to discuss updated strategies for 2025 and 26, which has led to the policy day topics that will be discussed later in this presentation. OSF has also been working with processors throughout the year. One processor has been connecting with OMAFA and members of the board to discuss options for price discovery, carcass grading, and direct marketing. Other processors have been concerned with condemnation rates, which have prompted meetings with other livestock commodity groups, general farm organizations, and OMAFA on the topic, and discussions are ongoing. OMAFA has committed to working together to resolve the issues. Mastery has a dual focus: producer skill development and higher learning. Under higher learning, a new cohort of Master Shepherds course started in the January of 2025. They are now through 5 modules and will be meeting for the in-person component of the program. In skill development, OSF ran 5 fecal egg count courses this spring and summer, and we are running 3 training sessions for animal welfare services this summer as well. Training for animal welfare inspectors develops knowledgeable investigators and ensures a practical understanding of the code of practice, so farmers are treated fairly when there are welfare complaints. Our board and staff also attend any welfare calls as an advocate and a resource for producers. OSF continues to offer winter webinars, and if you have ideas for future webinars, please let us know. This year, for the first time, OSF held a field day on July 24th in Orono. The day was well attended with over 300 people on site for the live demonstrations and to visit the over 40 exhibitors. Highlights included a speed fencing demonstration of Rappa and Gallagher fence products and multiple handling demonstrations. This September, OSF will be hosting beginner and advanced ultrasound workshops in partnership with CSF in Iona Station. The beginner course is 3 days from September 24th to 26th, and the advanced course is only 1 day on September 27th. When we consider ways to support our industry, the first is through research and the sharing of research results. Dr. Emma Burkowski's parasite study continues, addressing the control of gastrointestinal nematodes given the limited drench options available and the rising rates of drench resistance. The project is investigating the Carla antibody response, which will further inform efforts to incorporate genetic selection for nematode immunity based on Carla antibody in the Ontario sheep industry. The first results of the Living Labs project will be available after corn harvest this fall. OSF invested in the grazing objectives of the project to determine the effect of grazing intensity on total pasture yield over the season, forage quality, and soil carbon sequestration indicators, and to determine the effect of grazing cover crops on subsequent corn crop yield and soil health parameters. Thank you to the 3 sheep farmers participating in this project in 2024 and 2025, and to the new producers participating this year in the next trial. OSF has been meeting with researchers and leaders within OMAFA and U of G about opportunities to utilize the Ponsonby Sheep Research Station. After last fall's convention, the OSF Research Committee engaged Mark Ferguson to discuss opportunities to improve genetic gains in the Ontario sheep flock. A proposal for utilizing Ponsonby for a central progeny test for improving genetic resistance to parasites and coccidiosis is underway. We will work with Dr. Angela Canovas to submit a funding proposal this fall. OSF also plans to survey members for future genetic improvement priorities. This year, under member engagement, we completed a commercial breeding stock survey, as previously mentioned, and put on a well-attended field day in July. To support the ongoing success of our organization, OSF's Board of Directors holds twice annual strategic planning and priority setting meetings. The first is in December, following the AGM and convention, and the second is in the summer, on location in a district, with some input from the district committee. The various organizational committees, including the district chairs committee and the stakeholder committee, help guide the board with information from the grassroots and the broader agricultural sector. This year, the board met in Perth in July for their annual strategic planning session and have begun work on an updated strategic plan for OSF as the current 5-year plan will end in 2026. More information will be shared with delegates for input at the policy day. Once new goals are set, the staff work from the direction of the board to help to develop the annual work plan. Then we work together, the board, the committees, the districts, and the staff, to deliver value to our members. As I've mentioned throughout the presentation, OSF is holding a policy day for the first time on October 30th. The policy session will be in person only and open to delegates selected at each district AGM. There are 3 topics for discussion that day, based on the work of the marketing committee and recent value chain discussions. At this year's OSF convention and Grey Bruce Farmers Week Sheep Day, processors mentioned the need for a consistent carcass. Quebec sheep producers have been working with a grading chart to provide feedback and incentives to producers to provide a carcass to meet market expectations. At Policy Day, a member of the LAOC board will speak to us about their success over the last 10 to 15 years with their carcass grading program, and there will be an opportunity to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of their program after the presentation and what we can learn and apply in Ontario based on their success. The second topic, one Ontario processor has been working with our province's chief economist, Steve Duff, on various approaches to price discovery, recognizing that an average of the auction price over a period of time may not be the only method or the best long-term method of price discovery for the industry. Steve will present his findings to delegates for consideration. And third, the OSF board would like the opportunity to share some strategic planning work with the delegates for comment. The board is very interested in the input of our members on all three topics, so more information will be forthcoming to help delegates engage members before the session. Also on the 30th, OSF will hold a half-day AGM followed by an evening banquet at the same location as last year. This location in Cambridge has been chosen for a second year due to the very affordable costs and location on the 401. That location is the Cambridge Hotel and Conference Center. The AGM will be broadcast over Zoom for those wanting to attend from afar. However, the policy day will only be held in person. As a reminder, we are accepting nominations for awards until September 19th, so please read about the various categories on the OSF website and consider nominating a well-deserving fellow producer. If you have any questions or concerns, here is my contact information. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, your local director, or your district committee with ideas to improve the work of the organization. Thank you to everybody who's a member of Ontario Sheep Farmers and comes out to meetings, who volunteers on your district committee, who volunteers as provincial director, and for any other work that you put in over the year to support the Ontario sheep industry. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful 2025-26.